Hello and welcome. I would like to talk about the ship in the new British cruiser line, the Minotaur. First I'll talk about the ship and its stats, and then later there's some gameplay. You can click here or in the description to jump right to the gameplay if you wish to skip the stats of the ship. So the Minotaur is the apex of the Royal Navy light cruiser line. This line is different from other cruiser lines in that they are all light cruisers. What this means is that their guns are lower caliber. I believe none of them exceed 152mm. They also don't get any high explosive shells, but they do get stronger AP shells. They don't get defensive fire either, but they get a short smoke screen. When I say short, I mean the area that their smoke covers is a lot less than other smoke screens. They seem to excel at hunting certain destroyers and being pretty brutal to anything that dares to show them their broadside. But they seem to be pretty bad at dealing with things that utilize lots of range, like camping battleships, or things that are maneuverable at even medium range, like Soviet destroyers. Soviet destroyers really seem to be their weak point due to how long the shells from this ship take to fly there, or any other Royal Navy light cruiser. So let's talk about some pros and cons of the ship. So the ship has incredible damage per minute. Like, we're talking 685,000 AP damage per minute. This exceeds even the Des Moines by quite a bit. She also gets smoke, hydro and heal. And I believe that they get heal at tier 8 even. And this heal seems to be slightly stronger, at least it seems that it heals some citadel damage, or at least it seemed to be very powerful. You have the option of getting radar, which is equivalent to what the US radar is, but I believe that getting smoke is better. It's only 7 seconds, so you only get 2 ticks of it, but it lasts for a really long time, so this smoke is really powerful. She gets hydro but no defensive fire. Another good point of the ship is, or British cruisers in general, is that they accelerate really quickly. This means that they can go from 0 to, I don't know, hero really quickly. And it's even possible to dodge torpedoes with hydroactive in smoke, even if you were completely sitting still. The other thing with having this kind of acceleration is that she bleeds almost no speed while turning. In fact, I did some acceleration tests and I found that she actually goes faster if she's turning at certain speeds. Like from 0 to 31 knots, she accelerates the fastest in a straight line, but from 31 knots to 32.8 knots, she accelerates faster while turning, and I'm talking like seconds faster. This might be a bug though, so I don't quite know that for sure. So the advantage with the AP shells of this ship is that they have a shorter fuse. Okay, I'm not really gonna talk about that one. Basically, what this means is that they should be able to penetrate better and ricochet less than other equivalent sized AP shells. The ships are also very maneuverable. 660 meter turning circle, 8.3 second rudder shift. This is a fairly maneuverable ship. And she also gets very decent anti-air, but no defensive fire of course, but even without it, like particularly the AA range is insane. I have both AA range upgrades here, and this is 8.6 kilometers. This is longer than any other AA range in the game. And the second one is 7.2. This is pretty much equivalent to what like a Des Moines offers, although of course the Des Moines has defensive fire. So she also has pretty good torpedoes that you can actually fire single file, so you could like have a line of them, although it actually is a bit more difficult than it seemed at first, because your ship is moving while you fire them. She is very good for destroyer hunting, but not the Khabarovsk. The Khabarovsk will pretty much eat this thing for breakfast unless you try to run away, which you actually can do because she also has very good concealment range. This is 10.1 kilometer concealment, and I don't actually have concealment expert here. So with that you could get it to 8.9 kilometers, which is actually less than what the Atag offers. So let's talk about some of the downsides of this ship. She has no HE, which means that you cannot set fires. And while this AP penetrates better if a battleship is sailing directly towards you, you will do minimal damage. Sure, you might deal 100 or 1000 damage every salvo, but that really isn't going to do much to stop a Yamato from chasing you down. The torpedoes do help though. But essentially, if you point your nose towards them as a battleship, it's very difficult for this ship to do anything to them. The other thing that she suffers from is fragility. She is incredibly fragile. She has more HP than a Zhao, but her armor is very weak. 16mm plates everywhere, the blue parts, and Citadel is only 101mm, and check how high in this water it is. Like, citadeling this ship is very, very easy. So she is incredibly fragile. I would probably even say that she's more fragile than destroyers because she just can't be citadeled. Just look at this. Look, this plate is 16mm. Let's look what the Shimakaze has. 19mm plates. The Shimakaze is better armored than the Minotaur. So yeah, this ship is very fragile. She isn't very fast either. Her maximum speed is 33.5 knots. There are certainly faster cruises. She has no defensive fire, so she might just fall prey to carriers, but I think that such chance isn't very high due to the fact that the natural AA is still pretty good. The low caliber of guns means that you can't really citadel battleships, like at all, even if you try your best. You would think that other cruisers are the same, but no, they really aren't. Something like a Des Moines can easily citadel a Yamato, but of course it has to be at close range. But this ship, pretty much no matter what range, citadels are not happening. The other downside, or another downside, is the fact that smoke is only 7 seconds, which means that you have to be pretty much at half speed before you actually use it. Otherwise, what happens is that you will simply slide out of the smoke, and usually you will promptly die, because when you use smokescreen you probably have a need for it. And because the smokescreen is so short, what this means that even if you use smoke, it's a very small target for torpedoes. So if a ship decides that, okay, I'm just gonna torpedo you now, you have a really hard time. Like a Shimakaze putting torps around the smokescreen might be getting very easy kills on these ships. But of course, I don't know. The acceleration is good, so you might be able to dodge them. In terms of modules and commander skills, I would recommend the following. Obviously, main armaments modification 1, you don't want your guns broken, and that's pretty much it. The other ones just aren't very important in my opinion. Although auxiliary armaments might be useful to save your AA guns, but I don't know how useful that will end up really being. In the second slot, I pick AA guns modification 2. You could also pick aiming systems modification 1. I just think that dispersion isn't always the most important, but this, I believe this choice is a pretty good one between the two. I just want more AA range because it's a bit more useful to the team, because having 8.6 kilometer AA range is something that carriers just don't expect. This is such a high range that carriers just aren't used to playing around it. Even 7.2 is really, really long for them. In the third slot, the 3 million one, I would recommend getting the reload module. You could get gun range, but believe me, you're not really going to be hitting things at maximum range. Even this 15.8 kilometer range is something you don't really want to utilize. You want to be closer. You might be crazy and do some torpedo shenanigans if you want. I guess you could do that. But I don't think I would recommend it. In the fourth slot, I would recommend this module because it lowers the amount of fires and flooding, but that's not the important part. What this does is that it increases your torpedo protection damage by like 1% or 2% or something really, really minor. It's just useful. In the fourth slot, I would recommend getting steering gears modification. By the way, if you notice, it doesn't actually have the propulsion one because, well, none of the Royal Navy cruisers do because they accelerate so fast. Steering gears is nice, it gets you to a pretty maneuverable 8.3 seconds. And in the last slot, I recommend concealment modification. You could go for steering gears, but I believe that at the ranges you're at, you are better served with concealment, especially since you can utilize smoke quite nicely. In terms of captain skills, I would recommend going for basics of survivability. This reduces fire durations, which you're inevitably going to suffer from. In the second one, for Royal Navy cruises in general, I recommend expert marksman, but for the Minotaur it's actually not necessary. I believe that torpedo armament expertise would be better, but you know, because you're going to be going through the entire line, expert marksman is a better choice, and you know, it's not useless on the Minotaur. At tier 3, or the tier 3 skill, I would recommend Superintendent because it gives you an extra smoke screen, which you probably are going to use up quite often. At tier 4, obviously Demolition Expert is completely useless because you don't have any HE. So the question is between Survivability Expert, which would give you about 10% extra HP, Advanced Firing Training, and Manual Anti-Air, because Manual Anti-Air would, like the long-range AA gun on this is 118 damage, so that could be quite useful. But I think AFT is slightly better because, again, it increases your AA range, so you can help your team out a little bit more. On a tier 5 skill, I would definitely recommend Concealment Expert. This would put you at 8.9 kilometers concealment, and which, you know, is really good. You can actually stealth torp with this. And the rest, other 3 points, if you eventually get an 18-point cap, then I guess I would recommend Vigilance. Because there really isn't a good tier 2 skill for the Minotaur, so I don't really recommend any of these. Although maybe if you're, you know, interested, you could utilize Incoming Fire Alert, but it's not a very good skill. You can usually, you know, just have better awareness of what's going on and just use that one. In terms of flags, I would recommend obviously using the ship cost reduction flag, and definitely their reload consumables flag and the heal flag. These two flags are pretty much mandatory because this helps your smoke screens to be up faster and this makes your heal stronger. Pretty much all the rest are, you know, optional. They aren't required. Speed is nice, but usually people are lacking in speed flags, so you don't want to use those. So, it's finally time for the match. I am in the tier 10 Royal Navy light cruiser, the Minotaur. This is a 6 versus 6 because it happened at night, and the reason why it happened at night is because we got these ships on very short notice, 24 hours before the embargo more or less. And because, you know, I'm not paying attention to the PMs all the time, I noticed that even later, so yeah, I had very little time to play with these ships. So I had to play at night pretty much. And because of that, it's a 6 versus 6. It's okay though. It's on the map Hotspot, and I headed straight for the 8 cap. They have a Zao, we have a Shimakas, and they also have a Habarovsk. I headed straight for the 8 cap, and I'm gonna start capping here. I use Hydro to make sure that no ship suddenly sneaks closer to me and, you know, it'll torpedoes me or something. I don't really want to die that quickly. In a 6 versus 6, dying early is very bad. The other thing is that I want to be fairly safe so that I can maybe utilize smoke properly, and if not that, then at least be able to accelerate away, because this ship, like I said, accelerates very well. I use smoke here because I think that if they kept going straight, they would be coming around the corner any time now. And I don't want to be spotted even for a moment when they do that, because I don't really want to be shot at all, because that will just decap me, and that means I will have to spend more time in here. Right now I'm gonna keep sitting here because, you know, I'm in smoke, I'm fairly safe, but torps come, I'll try to accelerate away immediately. Unfortunately, our Shimakas got out-torpedoed by the enemy Habarovsk. It seemed to be at fairly close range, so it's kind of expected, really. The Habarovsk is a much better fighter than a Shimakas. So it's not really that special. I guess maybe the mistake is to even go for that alone, but then again you have to take these risks at times. They are definitely inside the cap zone, so I'm just gonna sit here. I'm just gonna wait. There's really no reason for me to push out right now. Although I'm thinking of going around the island, because I could potentially go and surprise them and deal massive damage, but we'll see. I tell my team that I'm going around and see what's going on over there. Although I don't have smoke yet, it should be up sometime soon. The ship is fragile, but she should be able to fight them tier 8 ships. Okay, there's the Tirpitz. At fairly close range too. This might be a pretty good fight, and actually a pretty good indicator how good or bad the ship is. Not to mention at close range I also have torpedoes, but I think at this moment I have forgotten about it. The Tirpitz was turning, so I got a good opening salvo. I tried to dodge these shells. I took some damage. That wasn't the greatest. 1/4 of my HP gone in the first salvo. But my AP is dealing pretty good damage. Was I able to dodge this? Yeah, it seems I was able to dodge this salvo nicely. I'm using the... If you're wondering what that circle in the... or weird circle type thing is in the middle, that is my... that is the... some mod I forgot the name of. Relative angles or something. It's in the official Wargaming pack. I torpedoed for the Zao because I believe the Tirpitz was going to do evasive maneuvers anyway, so I wouldn't quite know where. Smoke is coming off cooldown soon, so I can stop and use that soon. I expected to deal a lot more damage to the Tirpitz at this time. You know, like I said, I haven't played this ship too much. This is one of the first matches, so I didn't quite know all the things. Now I do, though. Now I know a lot better. Smoke is up, so I am pretty much safe. As long as they keep spotting this Tirpitz, I should have her. I will use Hydra as soon as it's up, I think, because the Tirpitz might torp me, or I might just accelerate out of this. Oh, and actually a torpedo hit on the Zao. If I were to do this fight again, what I would change is I would try to torpedo, you know, in a single file rather than broad spread, or, you know, it's actually the tight spread, but I would use rather that one, because I think that I might have done a lot more with that one. It's okay though, now I know better. I'm gonna keep shelling this because I am inside smoke, there is no reason not to do so. But because the Zao left, or rather isn't spotted anymore, I decide to leave. There is no reason to keep going here, or sitting here, it doesn't give me anything. Somebody asked me what the caliber of the guns is. I wasn't quite certain, although I was fairly certain that it was 152, but I wasn't 100%. So I tried to check, but it doesn't actually say that in the game. The Tirpitz is surprised that I didn't fire HE at her, but actually you do want to fire AP at battleships. Pretty much any AP at battleships that are giving you a flat broadside. Even destroyers, maybe not US destroyers, but definitely Soviet ones. You fire at the upper belt, which is pretty much unarmored. It's pretty much, or very close to the same armor as the superstructure, so you really have very little problem penetrating that one. But as you can see, you can clearly see the downside of the Minotaur, and why I think that the Soviet DDs are pretty much the antithesis to the Royal Navy cruisers. She is shelling at 13 kilometers, and I'm having an incredibly hard time actually getting shells on her. Yet she has no problem getting shells on me, so that's why I tried to disengage as much as I could. I could AP that Zao, and I think I will once I stop chatting. But yeah, essentially a Kutuzov can actually AP tier 8 battleships in the upper belt for like 12,000 of the first salvo, but the subsequent ones seem to all be like 6,000 or so. But still, 6,000 damage every AP salvo is a lot, so... I mean... AP is pretty strong on cruisers against battleships, as long as the battleships don't angle. When the battleships angle, then, well, can't really do anything against that as a cruiser, other than fire HE. So this Kutuzov is coming around the corner. I'm gonna start firing immediately. First salvos are higher up, because I can't really see properly on the waterline. Now I do, though. Let's see if I can get any citadels. Seems like that's a no. I seem to be unable to citadel this Kutuzov. Huh. Maybe you have to aim a bit better or something. But this definitely didn't work out for me. Okay, so now I'll go into the cap zone and I will start APing that Tirpitz. I will slow down, and once the Tirpitz comes around, I'll probably just smoke and keep spamming shells. Okay, so I started using smoke because I think the Tirpitz is gonna come around the corner in a moment. But unfortunately I didn't account for the fact that we don't have anybody spotting the Tirpitz. So that's a bit unfortunate for me. So I guess I'll switch to the Zao. I'll try to angle so that all my guns are on point. The thing I have to be worried about is the fact that the Khabarovsk might come around soon, or that the Tirpitz could come into the cap zone. Both are fairly dangerous. That's why I use Hydro, because the Tirpitz might come closer and just torpedo me, and I don't think I could do all that much against it. And as you can see, I'm not very effective at range. So the Tirpitz is spotted. I'll just AP her for as long as I can while she is spotted here, because she's giving me a perfect broadside, so I can just deal some damage. And I'm definitely certain I did like 10,000 damage here. But I think it might be time to just move and start running away. And try to group up with the other two battleships, because we have lost 2 ships, they have 3 ships, they have lost 2. We are behind, we have me and 2 battleships, and we aren't actually grouped up. The good thing is that they didn't cap C, otherwise they would be ticking into the points advantage. But they might go for that soon. Okay, the Khabarovsk is over here, so using the super fast turret rotation, I'll start APing. Because my Hydra is up, I should be able to spot if the Khabarovsk, you know, torpedoes me from range. I torpedo, so if the Khabarovsk tries to run, the torps might catch her off guard. But now, since the Khabarovsk is so close, I will try to get as close as I can, so that in case the Khabarovsk torpedoes, I might be able to maybe dodge them, or maybe, you know, be even too close. Okay, I'm so close that I can't depress the guns enough, and that took the Khabarovsk out. It's odd that the Khabarovsk didn't actually... It's odd that the Khabarovsk didn't actually torpedo me here. But when I asked later, the Khabarovsk said that one of the launchers was broken and something about the other one. Also, a friendly ship just citadeled me. Obviously, he was aiming at the Khabarovsk, but, you know, dispersion, etc., put the shell on my ship, and it was immediately a citadel. I mean, as you guys saw in the earlier explanation, she's a very fragile ship. And a battleship doesn't have all that much trouble citadeling her and deleting her. I was actually pretty certain that this fight with Khabarovsk was going to end up as a trade because of the torpedoes, but I guess I got really lucky that she didn't use torpedoes. Although I might have survived the one launcher full of. It depends on when the torps would have been fired, I guess. Because if they had been right at the end, I might have been able to, you know, be close enough so that they don't arm, or at least for most of them. So right now I don't want to fire because I'll be the one in the line of fire. What I do want is, I want my friendly battleships to go into position so that they can spot somebody on the enemy team. And that way I can utilize my last smoke screen and try to damage them as much as possible. Right now we are ahead because I believe we capped A a lot earlier than they did cap B. And I mean, both teams have lost 3 ships. We are slightly ahead in the fact that we have 2 battleships, they have 1. But the Zao is a very powerful ship, and Aerroon is pretty good too, although I guess they're not quite Minotaurs. Okay, so I could fire at the Aerroon here, but that would give my position away, and it could potentially endanger me against the battleship. So I tell my team that I would like them to get closer and spot the enemy team, because you know their battleships, they can survive that. I am a half HP Minotaur, I kinda can't survive that one. Right now the problem is that if I go out and smoke, the battleships aren't in a position to spot for me. So I simply just wait for them here. This is actually pretty amazing. I didn't think that this island here would keep me unspotted, this little, you know, part of it. Usually you would be spotted over something like this. Maybe I just got very lucky. Unfortunately, we don't have any spotting. For some reason, the Amagi seems to be stationary. I hydro just in case, to make sure that I'll be able to keep some tabs on where the Tirpitz is going. Because if she suddenly was to come around this island, I believe that would be a very bad idea. I really want them to go out and spot, but I don't know why. The Amagi is simply stationary and the other battleship is behind an island. I just don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. The plane is spotting her right now, but for how long that's gonna work, I don't know. It seems the Amagi started... No, seems to be still stationary. Okay, no, she's definitely started moving. But I don't know. If they pull more stuff like this, I can't do it. So I guess because they kept C, we are going to be at a points disadvantage very soon. So we do need to do something. Right now it's... They only have 2 ships over here, so we had to take advantage of this chance. So I guess I'll just go solo YOLO and hope for the best. I still have a smoke screen, so I can utilize that, and they might come around the corner just in time to spot nicely. And this Aerroon is completely unaware of where I am, so I get a few nice broadsides. And because of the spotting and pulling the aggro, I was able to do nicely. Again, like I said, I kind of forgot about the fact that you could single file torps here. Otherwise I should have single filed these torps, and that could have been very useful. Now I'm just gonna AP. The Tirpitz might spot me, but the torps should be on course. Very good, on a very good course. And goodbye Tirpitz. Okay, so the Amagi actually did very well here. I don't know what the Bismarck is doing, the pink guy. But the Amagi definitely did well here to spot and draw their aggro. I think this would have been a much harder fight, and I might have just literally died, because I was very close range to a Tirpitz who probably would have torpedoed, and that would have pushed me out of the smoke, and it might have literally killed me. Yeah, Kaiser Alucard, I told you in chat that he did very well right here. Like, the reason why this was so successful was because of him. For some reason he still says that, no, that I didn't do it alone. Of course I didn't. You were there and you were very helpful. And I appreciate that. I just wonder what the Bismarck is doing. So right now it's 3 against 1, although I don't know if we can count the Bismarck. I fired these torps just randomly. Doesn't exactly matter. And this is where I realized that there's single file torps, and that I completely forgot about them. Oh well, it's okay. I don't exactly need those torps, probably. So, okay, so there's the Zao. She is spotted. And, yeah, I guess it's time to try to finish her off. We're a Kraken in a 5 versus 5. Although this ship doesn't get any medals because it's a testing ship. I have utilized all my consumables except the heal, because I don't have enough HP to heal right now. And hopefully I'll be able to take this Zao out as well. Especially if she shows broadside, that's pretty much a guarantee, I guess. Goodbye, Zao. It was pretty nice knowing you. Well, yeah, goodbye. So, I actually got 5 kills in a 6 versus 6. And I did quite a bit of damage if you think about it. 191,800 damage. 453 shell hits, although half of those are going to be deflections and things that didn't penetrate enough. So yeah, 5 kills in a 6 versus 6, 191,800 damage. That is quite incredible. I don't think I've ever had a result like this. To be fair, you can't really credit the ship fully for this. It was a very lucky game as well. But the ship definitely helped. I don't think many ships would be able to pull this off. Also got the cap. 2,808 base experience. 2,800 with a new economy. That's quite insane. Yamagi did play well later, so I compliment him for that. And yeah, this was pretty incredible. Look at this damage. 850 shells fired. And half of those actually hit. Torps did 43,000 damage, so they were fairly successful. But think about it. I took 52,000 damage with a potential damage of 580,000. That's almost 10%. This is like a really poor ratio. But look at this damage. I did so much damage to everyone on the enemy team. This is something like 50 to 60% of their total HP on the enemy team. I did that alone. And I made a profit of 381,000 credits in a tier 10 match. To be fair, of course, this is with both of the credits reduction flags, the first league and the, the consumable flag. But yeah, let's add up this HP. Tirpitz has 70,000, Zhao has 40,000, Khabarovsk has 22,000, so this is 130,000. Kutuzov has 40,000, 170,000. Aerroon has 45,000, 215, and the Tirpitz has 70, so 280,000 damage. So this 191,000 damage I dealt to the 280,000 health pool is definitely like 50 to 60% of their HP. Of course, you have to actually think about the fact that both Tirpitz's and the Zhao are going to be healing, and, the same for the Rune. But this is quite incredible. I don't think I've done such a large share of damage in a 6 versus 6 or similarly, numbered match. But yeah, this was incredible. I hope you guys also enjoyed this video, and the Minotaur is definitely a very good ship. On the Royal Navy cruisers overall though, I feel that the lower cruisers are pretty meh, but they get better and better the higher tier you get comparatively to the other ships. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I would like to thank the Patreons on Patreon now that help this channel keep going. We had another new Patreon, Uchtred the Bold. Thank you very much for your continued support, and I hope I see you guys next time.